Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 351, Betty Lynn and listener feedback. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at Weaver's Department Store. Drop by weaversdepartmentstore.com to pick up some of the great Mayberry items they got over there. They got the 2016 wall calendar. I know you're tired of hearing about that, but go buy one. You're going to want it next year or this year, depending on when you're listening. If you don't want that, there's all kinds of Floyd's Barbershop t-shirts, sweatshirts. There's Mayberry postmarks, all kinds of things. Go check it out, weaversdepartmentstore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations by listeners just like you. Executive producer of episode number 351 is Tim Bradshaw. Thank you, Tim. I want to thank you for all your support for the show. He's going to be big part of the content tonight, folks, because we got some really fun stuff coming. The first thing up that I want to do is this is from Mayberry Days, 2015. And Tim posted a video recently on YouTube, and you can go and watch that, and we'll definitely put a link in the show notes for it. But he had mentioned to me that he wouldn't mind me showing some of the stuff from his channel on YouTube. So I went out and found this because this is a really nice, it's about a 4.5 minute long segment, maybe 4 minutes long, I don't remember, with Betty Lynn from Mayberry Days. This was at Colonel Tim's, and Tim was in the audience. Tim Bradshaw was in the audience and was able to record this very nice segment with Betty. So I'm going to carry you right over there, and if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can see this, but I think it comes across fine in audio. So let's head over and join Betty Lynn already on stage. And here we go.
Oh, my.
So the crowd's welcoming Betty, and she's just smiling.
This show that we all love so much, watch all the time, I hope to heaven it'll always be on, because it's the best show ever on television, in my opinion. And all the elements is funny. And it can be very touching. I cry at some of the things. Has a lot of heart. It could actually be something that could happen. And you don't see that in sitcoms. They're either very broad comedy or they're a bunch of jokes lined up. I mean, you know, it's nothing like the Andy Griffith Show. So I was the luckiest person in the world, I thought, to have a chance to be on that show. Everybody on it, they were wonderful actors. And people say, what? Oh, he must have been so funny, Barney. He must have been. No, Barney wasn't funny. He was very serious, wonderful actor, and he'd take a character like he did with Barney and go to town with it. But in person, to be with him, he was quiet and didn't say much at all. And he wrote poetry. He was really a very dreamy, sweet man. And Andy was great to be with. I adored Andy. I had a crush on him for about 15 minutes because he was married, you know. So I thought, I can't have a crush on him. No, I cannot. But he was just adorable to be with. And anyway, the whole Aunt Bee, I loved her. I always thought she was such a great actress that if possible, I would like someday, as I got older, that I could do things like she did. But my career got caught a little short, I think, because I had some illness and things happened that I couldn't very well go ahead and do things. I wish I could have. But that's okay. I'm happy as I can be. And to be able to greet all of you and tell you how much you mean to each one of us, because it means a lot to have people come and tell you that through their life, from the time they were little, they had watched you on TV and that you meant something to them. And it's touched my heart so often. Sometimes some of you teared up a bit, and I have too. But I love you, and I thank you for coming to, as Andy said, you could call it Mayberry, because it sort of is, he said. And it sort of is because he drew from his hometown. He used that in that show. And I see it more and more that I'm here. I see more and more things that he has drawn It's really amazing. And, well, I just wanted to say goodbye, and I hate to lose you. You're all going to be gone tomorrow, I guess. And, yeah, and I hope you'll try to come back, and I hope I'm around next year, because I want to greet you again.
So as you can hear, the crowd is standing. They're clapping for Betty. They just love her, and she loves them so much. So I want to thank Tim, Mr. McBeevy, in our chat room for allowing us to use that, because that's a great clip. Hopefully, over the course of time here, we're going to have more and more clips from some of the stuff that happened at Mayberry Days this year. And I've got another clip here from Tim that I guess I should have put into our title, because it's going to be hard to find if I don't put it in there. But I'll put it in the show notes so that it's there. Now, this is Bruce Bilson. Now, Bruce Bilson did a segment with Neil Brower at Mayberry Days 2015, and it was his second appearance. Now, we've already talked about a little bit about him earlier on a previous episode. But in this one, he's going to be talking about the time, when Opie is walking down the road at the beginning of the episode, when Opie throws the rock into Myers Lake. As he, every beginning of every episode, he would run up there, grab the rock, and throw it in the lake. Well, Bruce was there the first time this ever occurred on season 1. So this clip is him talking about that. Now, you're going to have to just remember in your mind, if you're not watching the video especially, you're going to have to remember in your mind, because they're going to show a clip of the Andy Griffith Show opening credits. And as they do, they're going to throw the rock. And you're not going to be able to see that. But what I want you to remember, and we'll tell you, is when Opie throws it, what he's talking about, Opie's going to throw the rock. He couldn't throw it into the water, and so somebody threw it off screen. So if you watch an episode later of the Andy Griffith Show, if you don't get to see the video version of the podcast, pay attention to where the rock hits in the water and from the angle it came from, because Opie kind of throws the rock a little bit to the right, and the rock ends up landing kind of straight in front of him or to the left. So it would almost do a hook, would be what would happen if he had actually done the rock throwing. Anyway, so let's listen to Bruce Bilson describing that very event back on the Andy Griffith Show.
And there he was. I said, "Hi, Arby. How are you, boy? Good to see you, Bruce. Listen, I think I may have a job for you." I said, "What is it?" He says, "Something new. We're calling it the Andy Griffith Show." And that was how luck works. Because it could have been a different show that was starting, but that's the show. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I would be sitting here today. So I went to work the first day, and I saw the pilot. Oh, that's nice. They go to a little small town, and the sheriff, okay, good, nice, we can do that. And then I got the script, I read it, and we went on location on Monday, and Sheldon Leonard, who was a big boss there, was directing it himself. And we went, there's a dirt road and a lake. I said, "Roll camera." That was my job. That was my line. And Sheldon said, "Action." And Andy Griffith, there he was, walking down this road with a little red-headed kid. And the kid comes to the lake, and he throws a rock, and it doesn't go in the lake. So, okay, take 2. Roll camera. Action. Comes walking down the road. The little red-headed kid gets the thing, throws the rock, doesn't go in the lake. So I said to the prop guy, "Listen, go behind that bush, and when I say throw it, you throw it into the lake, okay?" So now we go down the road, roll it, action, comes walking down the road, the little red-headed kid throws a rock. I said, "Throw it!" Goes in the lake. But it was a little late, and you're going to see that right now, okay? If you'll roll it, Ken.
All right, so
sort of goes a little slow. See what you think.
So the beginning of the Andy Griffith Show, the opening credits are fixing to roll on the screen, and you see Andy and Opie walking hand in hand.
The Andy Griffith Show, starring Andy Griffith.
Opie runs away, grabs the rock off the ground. picks it up and throws it, and then splash over to the left.
Okay.
Now, this would have been the second season opening.
And that's
and
Neil Brower.
It's a little different from the first.
Yeah, so what happened, the sponsor took over the splash. Watch this. Now.
So this is in the second season. And Andy and Opie again walking hand in hand, walking down the dirt road there. Opie runs up, grabs the rock, throws the rock, and it cuts to the sponsor. The rock hitting the water, and post comes up on
Bruce,
screen.
this was shot on location at,
Right.
Tell us where this was shot.
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, I was on the show for 2 years, and for about 3 years afterward, good was still a two-syllable word for me. It was always good. I carried that with me for a while. What would you ask me?
This opening was shot at Franklin Reservoir.
Right, Franklin Canyon Reservoir, which is a lake in the hills just above Beverly Hills, and it's part of the drinking water system for Beverly Hills. So whenever we had to put something in the lake like a boat, it was a big deal. We had to scrub it with chlorine first and make sure that we didn't drop anything into it. It was very carefully monitored. But it was close, and looked good, and I don't know if it looked like North Carolina to you, but it looked good to us. And I went back to look at it last week because we've had a drought, as you know, and it was sort of a sad sight. I chose not to show the picture, but the lake was way down, there were weeds growing, and kind of greenish. But it's also a recreation area, and there are hiking paths all around, and there were people all around. But the lake was a little sad.
All right, so that was Bruce Bilson there with Neil Brower at the 2015 Professor Brower's class. Hope you enjoyed that. Now, I want you to go back and watch those. If you haven't seen the opening credit, try to watch it, especially in the first season and those episodes, and see if you see how Opie, when he threw the rock, it hits over in the side. So I want to thank Tim for sending those things my way and making them available for here on the podcast. And I also want to thank him as being one of our callers this week. Actually, I got 2 calls from him because I've been waiting so long since I did anything. So let's hear a voicemail from Tim Bradshaw.
Good afternoon, Alan. This is Tim Bradshaw. Just finished watching episode 350, the Gomer Pyle character. Did a great job as usual, but it made me think a little bit about how lucky we are as Andy Griffith Show fans to have had the best of both worlds, of both Gomer and Goober. And I think the way they wrote Goober's character into the show really contributed to his success as a character in the show. It wasn't like Gomer was actually being replaced, but Gomer had joined the Marine Corps, and Goober, his cousin, had taken over at Wally Service Station. So we've got a great legacy there and a continuity that made the characters of both very successful with the show. And also, as a note on Veterans Day, just noticed and I'm watching the show of Gomer Pyle that in his uniform, in his dress uniform, he wears the National Defense Service Ribbon and a Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal and the Expert Rifleman Badge for the Marines. And this is a very nice contribution to the era which the show was made, because the National Defense Service Ribbon indicates that he was serving as a Marine during a wartime era, which at that time was Vietnam. And so we have some great authenticity there in the show as far as uniforms and military bearing, complemented with lots of comedy. So,
well, that's it. That cut him off because it's only a 90-second clip. But Tim, I want to thank you for calling and leaving. I didn't know that. I had never heard about the medals and stuff that he had on his uniform. So that's very interesting to me to hear. Now, Tim also called. This is about the same episode. He called in on the voicemail number because one of them he left through our button that's on the front page. If you go there, it says leave a voicemail. You can click it right on the right-hand side of the screen, And this other, he called as on our voicemail number at 888-684-8415. And here's Tim again.
Hey, Alan, this is Tim. I just had a question on your Gomer Pyle episode, number 350. Enjoyed those photographs so much. I'm just wondering what the occasion was where the actors were wearing the tuxedos and what event that was at. It looks pretty impressive, but looks like you guys had a good time there, and I see there's some personal photographs made with some of the contribute artists. Enjoyed it very much. Great show. Gomer was one of my favorite characters in the show, as well as George Lindsay, and we just really are fortunate to have such a great show to watch and rewatch. All right, man. Talk to you later. Enjoyed it. Bye.
Well, there you go. So those pictures and stuff that we showed during the episode number 350 were from the 2006 Alabama Stage and Screen Hall of Fame. There was actually Jim Nabors was inducted at that. And the night before, on the 21st of April, 2006, there was a Mayberry variety show. And then the next night, on the 22nd, Jim Nabors was inducted in the Mayberry Hall of Fame there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And so at the show, we had all kinds of folks here. It was a great evening at Shelton State Community College in Tuscaloosa. And they had Maggie Peterson was there. And along with her two TV brothers, Rodney and Doug Dillard, had Ronnie Duke Slater, Shell. Barbara was Miss Bunny, if you remember her from the Gomer Pyle show. Barbara Stewart. Elizabeth McRae was Luann Poovey. And we had, let's see, who else was there? I think that's it. And then we had a whole bunch of tribute artists as well. The place was absolutely packed. It was a great show. On Friday night, and then of course on Saturday, that's where all the photos you saw were from them being very dressed up. Well, that was because they were there to honor Jim Nabors being inducted into the Stage and Screen Hall of Fame in Alabama. So it was a really fun evening. I was glad to be a part of it. It was fun. I did get my picture made with him at some point during the evening. So did most of the tribute artists. We were lucky. He came backstage. My claim to fame there was it just so happened that there was an intermission period because the Dillards performed, and then we had an intermission at some point. And because of the intermission, Jim Nabors actually came to watch the show on Friday night. He came and sat in the audience, and we were concerned that he was going to be mobbed. I may have told this story before. And so we wanted to get him backstage, and David Browning had just done a skit. I believe he did the one where he's dressed up as Gilligan. If you've never seen that, it's really funny when the guy Otis, Ken Junkin, addresses as Skipper, and Barney is Gilligan. It's really a good one. You'd have to see. Anyway, they were dressed like that, so I was able to announce Jim Nabors. I introduced him and brought him up on stage so that he could go backstage before intermission. So Hey, I was on stage with Jim Nabors. Anyway, thank you again, Tim, for your questions and your comments. I really do appreciate them. We've got a few other comments here. Another one, actually, let's see here, from that same episode, Lester over on Facebook. He wrote in and said, "Hi, Alan, this is the first time I knew about this." So he saw on Facebook, he saw the episode number 350, Who is Gomer Pyle? Says, "First time I knew about this, and it's really awesome. I only wish I'd known about the rest." You can still go back and watch them, Lester. So head back and watch them. He goes on to say really nice things about me and for being on there and to thank me for my work. Thank you for taking time to listen and watch the show. Next up, we have Janet Anderson. And this is from episode number 346, which is Mayberry Days Special Report. Now, if you remember, that was when Kevin Burke, our roving reporter from Burke on Mayberry, he showed up and gave us a report on the episode or about staying at Andy Griffith's house. So Janet has this to say. She said, "When my husband and I were at Mayberry Days last year," which would have been 2014, we sat by Kevin and Shelley Burke. during the trivia contest, and they told us that they would be staying at Andy's house this year. So I told Kevin last weekend on Facebook that I was hoping he would take lots of pictures and post them. But this video is even better. I appreciate Kevin for providing this so we could all see it. Now I have one question, and I don't know if you know the answer. I believe she's talking to me there. Or if I can answer it, or perhaps Kevin can. Maybe Kevin can answer this. And this is the question. Somewhere I read that Andy said his bedroom was very small, a very small, narrow room that only had space for a twin bed. The impression was that it was not much bigger than a closet. In this video, Kevin showed such a room that had a rollaway bed in it, and I wondered if that was Andy's bedroom. Oh, I remember that room completely. It's interesting. I didn't know that. Here she goes on to say, however, he also showed 2 other normal-sized bedrooms. And I know Andy was an only child, and I believe just he and his parents lived in the house. That being the case, why would Andy not have been able to use one of the 2 normal-sized bedrooms for his own instead of the tiny one? Do you have any information on that, Alan? She asked. Okay, I can't be 100% sure, but this is what I believe I've been told before. When Andy lived there, the house wasn't the same size as it is now. It was a little bit smaller. They used to have a back porch. And if you remember, right beside that little bedroom, if you go back and watch that video from episode 346, if you go watch it, there's the little bitty bedroom, and then there's a bigger bedroom right behind that, which Kevin was showing. I don't believe that was part of the house at the time. I believe there was from what Andy had said at one of the events I've been to, he talked about there being a big porch back there. He had a porch just outside right there. I think that was probably some kind of a porch area that they even since closed that in and added on a room. So my guess is there was only one bedroom and then that little bitty tiny closet type room that we saw. I didn't know that that was Andy's bedroom, so that's interesting. So Janet, thank you for writing in. I'm not sure I'm correct there, and if Kevin Burke knows, he stayed at the house, maybe he knows. I've never stayed there. I have not stayed at that house, therefore I cannot speak on the subject intelligently. But I do remember Andy talking about that, about there being a back porch that was no longer there. So that may be what he was talking about. All right, so I have another question coming in here. It says, or a comment. This is what I need your guys' help on because I don't know. Mike Cloud, he wrote in about episode number 170. Now that's the Fleets Come to Mayberry. So that's about Bobby Fleet and Freddie Fleet and all that kind of stuff. So here's this question. Can anyone tell me the name of the tune that Jim Lindsay plays at the end, which lands him a job with Bobby Fleet's band? Can anyone tell me the name? I'm not sure I know the name of that. I'm not sure. So I don't know. So maybe, is this the right one? Let me play this. Is this the right tune right here? I think that's it, isn't it? So does anybody know the name of this tune? I don't know the name. I believe this is the right one that Mike's asking about. And remember, that's an acoustic guitar sounding like an electric one. Jim had some talent. All right, so that's the tune I believe that he's asking about. Does anybody know the name of that tune? All right, so we'll leave it at that. If you know the name, email me at floyd@imayberry.com and we can put it here on the podcast. So that's enough. Thank you, Jim, for the jamming out there. Appreciate that. All right, we got a couple of more. Let me get these read. We got Cheryl from Marietta, Georgia. She wrote in about Who Stole My Golden R in episode number 349. She says, how many times have I heard that story? Countless. And I've even read the Wikipedia regarding Mark Twain's instructions on how to tell a story. But even after all that, I still jumped when you finished the story on the newest podcast. So thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it. You stole my golden R. That is awesome. Thank you for writing in, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the story. I enjoyed telling it. I may have to do that every year. That may be my new Halloween story. All right, and we got Dennis. He wrote in. Dennis from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a.k.a. Rube Sloan. He goes by that. He's asking a trivia question. Let's see if you guys know this. Alan, hey, Alan, I just wanted to let you know that we really enjoyed your podcast last week and the trivia question. So he's writing back about the trivia episode a couple of weeks ago. And he says this, the one about the phone number being 247. That's Thelma Lou's phone number. The one about the phone number, 247. We actually guessed it and got it right. However, just today we were watching the episode called The Shoplifters. And Barney asked Sarah to get him 596 and also called Thelma Lou. So there's another trivia question. Looks like Thelma Lou has at least 2 phone numbers. Wow, that's interesting. Just thought it was interesting and wanted to let you know. Thanks again for all the laughs and happy times you provide through the podcast. Dennis from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you, Dennis. That's good. I didn't remember. So she has 2 phone numbers. So it could be 2 options. Let's see. What time was it, I wonder? Could one be her work number and one be her home number? Could that be? Or maybe she just moved and got a new phone number. I don't know. That's a good question. I like it. I'm going to have to ask some of our trivialities experts out there to tell me the answer, because I don't know the answer. Well, folks, hey, I hope you have enjoyed the podcast tonight. There's a lot of just all kinds of different kinds of information about the Andy Griffith Show. I hope it adds to your enjoyment. And go and watch an episode from the first season and see that rock fly out there. The Opie couldn't hit the water, so they had another guy throw it. That is a fun thing to me. So, folks, I want to thank you for joining me, and I want to ask to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you, just like I heard from Tim and Janet and everybody else I just mentioned, Dennis and Cheryl and Mike. Thanks to all of you guys, and Lester. I think that's everybody that called in or wrote in. I'd love to hear from you. You can call me at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@mayberry.com or leave a message at Facebook or 2 Chairs No Waiting, and I'll see it, and hopefully I'll remember to put it in the show at some point. If I don't, hit me back, because I'll forget. I got no memory. Folks, I want to thank you again. It's always fun to spend time in Mayberry with you. And until next time, we'll see you right here on 2 Chairs.